To talk to you guys about your police force. I'm here to file a complaint about your chief of police right here and how your officers handle people in the streets.
One of your counselors was on the jury for this trial, and he actually said that it would be hard for him to go against the police because he has to deal with them. And he still served. He could have excused himself.
You had a citizen who exercised a natural right that's delineated in the Constitution of the United States.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. This video covers a city council meeting that happened on April 1st, 2024 at the Waterloo, Iowa City Hall. At this time, Flex Your Freedoms was in jail for a bogus charge from the Waterloo, Iowa Police Department. Here we go, guys.
Public comments. Please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please address the mayor.
Hello, everybody. It's my first time speaking at this meeting. I apologize if I'm not doing it correctly. With all due respect, I'd like to exercise my rights under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. I'm here to talk to you guys about your police force. I'm here to file a complaint about your chief of police right here and how your officers handle people in the streets. There's a man right here, right there in the back with the black shirt on and glasses on. He actually threatened me on camera, and I went to the police, and they told me to call the police department. But unfortunately, there is an innocent man in jail right now. His name is Bo Bish, or Flex Your Freedoms on YouTube. It's just despicable, guys, that you take somebody that holds a camera, you put him in a jail cell, and then you let the violent sociopaths roam the streets. You know, Bo Bish should not have been in jail. What the officers did on that day was very concerning. It reminded me a lot of the George Floyd incident where they had the guy in the car, they shut the door, and they decided to take him out of the car and then put him back in the car again. And once that person is in the car and the door is shut, there is no more threat, you know? And just the way that they were just unnecessarily violent with that guy. I mean, you look at the definition of excessive force and you look at reasonable force and you look at the way that those individuals were treating that black guy. I mean, I'd film it. If I saw that sort of, you know, regardless of race or anything, if I see any type of police violence, I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to film it. And I'm here with a dozen other people that are going to keep filming it. And even when you cops think that you're out, you know, and there's no cameramen, we'll still be filming it. You just won't see us, but we'll still be filming. And we tried to get John Childs to talk with him. He won't talk. He didn't show up today because he's too scared to own up to what he did. John Childs was actually on the jury for Bo Bish's trial. And the whole way that trial was set up, guys, it was bogus, plain and simple. You know, John Childs shouldn't have been on that jury, shouldn't have found Flex guilty. And just the lies, the trickery, and the deception. And I'm not just saying there's a couple bad cops on the street. I'm talking about the corruption comes from the top down, guys. It comes from the chief of police. It comes from the courthouse. It comes from the district attorney that had the option to not prosecute this case, but still decided to prosecute the case anyway. And I brought this guys to your attention. You know, that guy back there threatened me. I made a police report to chief of police and the other guy. They're not doing shit about it. You know, if I had taken those exact words and said it to a cop, you know, they arrest me, beat me up. I'd probably wake up in a hospital. And it's just your police force, guys. It's here to serve and protect people. It is not here to assault, harass, and collect. And if your department wants to continue using violence, it won't be 12 people next time. It'll be 22, 32, or maybe we won't even be able to fit all of them in this room. You guys need to start honoring the United States Constitution and the oath that you all swore to. Thank you for your time today.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council?
My name's TC, and I'm going to refrain from identifying where I live. But I am here because of what has happened to Flex Your Freedoms, to Bo. I spent a short amount of time in the United States military. I'm a veteran of the United States Army 82nd Airborne Division. I also spent nearly 13 years in the law enforcement world. So I do not come to this conversation that we're here to have in this brief few minutes from a place of ignorance or from a place of lightheartedness. What I saw take place at the hands, Mr. Mayor, of your police, they're your responsibility, sir. Ultimately, your chief answers to you, and I don't know how your governmental structure works, but ultimately they answer to you, Mr. Mayor, and ultimately then also to the city council, and above that, to the people and then the Constitution of the United States. Now, I don't know what the individual who was originally being searched and arrested was being investigated for. I don't know what the warrant was for, and it doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you had a citizen who exercised a natural right that's delineated in the Constitution of the United States. Exercising his right was on public property, was pushed into the street, then ordered into his home, who finally said, "I've had enough," and he talked back to law enforcement because it's his right, and was then arrested because your officer admitted, "My feelings were hurt when you called me a tyrant." You know what that is? When your feelings are hurt when you're called a tyrant, that's tyranny. When you take the power that's been vested in you by the people of a community and you use that power to subdue, arrest, charge, and then subsequently imprison an individual because your feelings were hurt. We have to do better. I grew up in the state of Iowa. Not in Waterloo, but I grew up in the state of Iowa. I used to have a massive amount of respect, and obviously I was in the career field, a massive amount of respect for the law enforcement world. And I'm losing that because they're left to go unchecked. They are. They're left to go unchecked. And that ultimately, Mr. Mayor, is on you, and it's on your safety commission. And you don't have to agree with Bo. Am I right? You don't have to agree with Bo. You don't have to like anything that Bo says. You don't have to like how he does it. You don't have to like that he does it cheeky. You don't have to like that he does it with some sarcasm. You don't even have to like that sometimes he says some really nasty things. Because the natural rights of man, they're granted to all of us in this room, that are granted to all of us in this room, whether you believe in our Creator or not. The natural rights of man say you can say what you want, especially to public servants, and they don't get to use their power against you. Mr. Mayor, you can change this. You can make this better. You can make this go away, if you will.
Thank you. Thank you for your service, too.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Keith, and I think it's paramount that everybody understand that if you're going to continue with this budgeting system based upon the people in your community that you depend upon to receive those very monies, then you need to start listening to the people in the beginning. My specific issue is I want a meeting with the mayor, a private meeting. I called about 6 months ago to the ladies down in the office, and they assured me that somebody would get back to me and I would have that private meeting so we could discuss the details specifically to myself as they relate to the rest of this community. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not a resident, and I'm not a United States citizen. I'm a man that was born just like everybody else, a living soul. And when we start placating that a budget is more important than the living souls that support it, that becomes an egregious act against humanity. Can I set up that appointment with you tonight, sir? All I need is, as a member of this community, a private meeting to meet with you that has been negated for 6 months.
You can call my office in the morning. We can work from there.
My name is Keith. I hope you will pass that along to whoever's taking that call, that I'm not playing games. We are slowly becoming, in modern America, Hitler's willing executioners for nothing more than $1. I'm sorry if that hurts anybody, but that's the reality I see. And I think everybody else needs to start taking a look at that. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening.
My name is L.C. Smith. I live at 416 Oliver Street in Waterloo. I've been living there since 1972, and that'll be 52 years. My concern is, I want to know, is our street is on the list to be repaired. After being there 52 years, this is the worst I ever seen it. In the 300 block of Oliver Street, it's there's a speed bump. I don't know why did they put a speed bump there? You know, and in the wintertime, the snowplow comes by, doesn't clean the street real good. They had a manhole bust like 2 years ago, and they haven't fixed that yet. It's still messed up from the 200 block all the way to the 400 block. Need to be repaired. So can somebody, you know, tell me, is we on the list for that street to be repaired or what?
We can't tell you right now, but I
Yeah.
have the Public Works Director here, and I know somebody that knows you, and we'll get in contact if I don't have your phone number. So we'll
Okay.
reach out to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
I'm Michael Blackwell. Next month, it'll be a year since I joined Reverend Stummy in making comments before this city council to address the massive racial disparities regarding the major components of a quality of life index. In a variety of ways, I have spent a number of decades as an adult seeking to address and redress these inequities individually and organizationally in a few major urban areas in this country, including Waterloo. These unjust disparities exist in housing, income, jobs, community life, education, environment, civic engagement, healthcare, life satisfaction, safety, criminal justice, and work-life balance. A couple of council meetings ago, a staff person earnestly suggested that each department and vision project should have an accountable and responsible leader who would update the city leaders and the community on the progress of their work. I wholeheartedly agree with that expressed sentiment. As a matter of fact, I would suggest that each component of the Quality of Life Index has such a responsible and accountable person to update the city and the community on how the disparities are being addressed and mitigated. Now, I know the issues have been so entrenched in the Cedar Valley for over 100 years, so much so that the severity of the injustices is easily overlooked. For quite frankly, institutional discrimination and personal bigotry have been and continue to be lock-stitched into the fabric of our metro area. Now, as time moves on and increasingly complicates the already labyrinthine matrix of racist policies and practices, the harder it becomes to apply our abilities to break their intricacies and multiple and cumulative effects. Those who are aware of and affected by the many consecutive generations of deliberate oppression are able to sing with Michael Jackson when he had a video from the Rio de Janeiro slum. All we want to say is that they don't really care about us. I lament to say that, but sometimes, very starkly, it seems to be the case. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'll be invoking my Fourth Amendment rights also. First of all, I'd like to explain that I do have a brain injury. It's hard for me to read my notes, and frankly, go out in public or get in front of public. But after seeing the video that I saw online, I had to come up here. There was so many acts in that whole situation that were against, there were so many rights violated, I can't even describe to you. I took care of veterans for 10 years. And if you know anybody that was a combat veteran with PTSD, you don't touch them. You don't unwantedly touch them. I watched an officer walk up to this guy and shove him into the street. Just think about that for a minute. All this guy was doing was his free speech. There was other people that were closer to the scene, but this guy had a camera and was talking. The other officer went and solicited I can't think of the crime now. Disorderly. And then he went and asked all the people in the area if they were offended by the guy's language. You can't do that. Police officers can't solicit a crime. And everybody obviously said, no, we weren't offended. So they couldn't get him on that. So they got him with interference. Well, one of your counselors was on the jury for this trial, and he actually said that it would be hard for him to go against the police because he has to deal with them. And he still served. He could have excused himself. So maybe he has an agenda. Also, 3/4 of the people in the jury knew officers from the area and said they were friends with them. The judge, he was also a tyrant. I won't get into that because you can't do anything about them. The council member, John Childs, that's who that was. I just think to throw a combat veteran in a cage for a right that he might not have been fighting in this country, but he swore an oath to that Constitution, and I guarantee you this guy takes it serious. That's why we're here. It's too bad that these guys don't. And these two might be the best guys in the world, but as soon as they see other police officers violating somebody's rights, they need to step in. It's not a brotherhood then. And that's what they have. And that's why there's such a disconnect between the people and the police. And they could fix this. I mean, it is damaged horribly, but now it's an us versus them. I didn't grow up that way. But when I saw somebody that I appreciate and I take care of get their rights violated like that, and now he's over there in a fucking cage because a cop got his feelings hurt. And that's exactly what it was. And that's what he said. So where does it stop? Where does it stop? What can you say on the sidewalk before somebody comes up and puts you in handcuffs and throws you in a cage? You know, he was saying some not so nice things like this guy said. And frankly, can I just finish this? One sentence, please.
Yep.
The guy that filmed the George Floyd incident, they were all yelling. None of them got arrested. He got an award.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you, sir.
I see an issue with what's going on here.
All right, thank you.
My name is Larry Stummy. I live at 1008 Lowe's Lane. Dr. Blackwell and myself come to you as pastors, citizens of Waterloo, Cedar Falls, with special concerns for the poor and vulnerable in our community. In particular, we have addressed the dilapidated and dangerous vacant homes and buildings long neglected, resulting in economic loss and personal danger to the affected neighbors. We come to you and all elected officials in our community to correct the neglect of your duty to serve and protect. In that mission, we ask you to respond to us, but more important, to those who suffer the consequences of this neglect. With that motivation, we ask of you who adopted the 2021 of the Waterloo 2030 community vision that you adopted and believe in 21, which is a detailed plan of the community's future developed at Waterloo expense by a consultant, Inova. We ask today, have you hired, as the plan sets out, an executive director at a pay of between $90,000 and $150,000 a year to oversee this ambitious plan? If not, why not? It is spelled out in that plan and required that he or she should be in place by April 22. Could you respond to whether you've appointed that or the role of the executive of this program?
Where'd you get that from? Where's the plan at where it says that in there?
I've got it right here.
I'll wait till you finish your comments. I don't want to interrupt your comments, sir, so
It shows right here, this is the plan, especially the Alleviate 8. It says the executive director consultant at $50,000 to $150,000 per year. And then it says the director consultant should be in place on April 2022. This is from this plan.
no, sir. I don't. but not at this moment. I need to take a look at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because it is such an ambitious plan, it needs somebody to be full-time, really on this all the time. In order to get something done, it has to be pushed by somebody in charge of it all.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else? Would you please come up to the podium, address the mayor, please?
Good evening. I will also be reserving my right for my identity under the Fourth Amendment. I saw the video that has been referred to tonight, and I wasn't surprised, but I'm still disappointed every time I see it, even though I'm not surprised. I'm not a very good public speaker, but I think I'll be spending quite a bit of time in town. And I'll put you on notice that one of my pet peeves is law enforcement officers not wearing their seatbelts. And I'll be doing a lot of filming on that. And I'm assuming that this town is self-insured for workers' compensation. And that is the thing that injures the most police officers is motor vehicle accidents and not being belted in during them. So I'm going to film a lot of that. And just a lot of everything else as much as I possibly can. I will resist unlawful arrest with the necessary force up to and including lethal force. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, is there anyone else?
Good evening. I had a whole speech written out, but that was contingent on John Childs being here, so I kind of just have to cover a few things. These guys behind me, they've said pretty much everything, except I could add maybe a few things. Just give me a second here since I'm not going off the speech anymore. They said all about John Childs. One thing I could add is shortly after the trial, John was escorted out of the police department to his vehicle, as I think a couple of people here were filming in the parking lot. And they noticed he had expired registration stickers, which whatever, and we didn't even know that was him. And he was escorted out by a police officer, and it was kind of, he got done saying that, he holds police officers to a higher standard. And that couldn't be more of a lie after what happened in the trial. And I get that the judge didn't allow the jury to know some things, and there were some questions they had for the jury or for the judge that weren't allowed to be asked. So just despicable, though. Another thing, on April 11th, Flex Your Freedoms and I were filming outside of a bank on a public sidewalk, and Officer Brandt, I'm sure you know who he is, he witnessed Flex Your Freedoms be assaulted and did absolutely nothing. So I get that if an assault happens out of their presence, you can't do anything, file a report. But when he watched it happen and still didn't do anything, just despicable. The other thing, the whole George Floyd thing, it was the same incident. What happened if that guy would have died from being tased, had a heart attack? He wouldn't be in jail. He'd be a hero right now for filming it. The guys that filmed the George Floyd thing, they got a journalism award for it. And they were 6 feet away. He was at least 30, and not on the property. I watched the guy that got arrested. His father came and was face to face with the officer. They pushed him back as well. No family members were charged. Nobody else was charged that were a lot closer. They were in the scene, were never charged. So it was all about avoiding a lawsuit. If you can convict him, then he can't sue. It's what it was about. But I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you guys making eye contact and listening to everybody. If you go around and watch other city council meetings, a lot of them, when they know they're wrong, they just put their head down. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Is there anyone else? Going a second time.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close the public comments.
Second.
That motion's been made with
Here he comes. He's coming. You gotta make accommodations.
Just in time if you make it in quick.
Second.
481 people watching.
I'm not good at this, so I have a few issues with the police department. So one is they're refusing to take my police report. That makes it a criminal act by the ADA.gov, and I'm flying to Washington, D.C. in May, and I prefer to not have to. That said, also they're doing things like, because I talk about the substance of the police report I want to give them, like they'll trespass me from everywhere. And like the trespass laws are, if you do something wrong, you can't come back. But the cops are making it so the individual vendor is not allowed to let me come back. So like Quickstar invited me back in, and trespass law states that if any employee invites you back into their store, that all trespass orders are null and void, but they ignore that. And then when they arrest me after that, that's a Fourth Amendment right violation because there's no probable cause or warrant at that point, but they still detain me. And I don't really want to get into all of it because it's so disgusting. I need Officer Freen would not. I called Officer Freen from Express Care on out there on San Martin. A security guard kicked me out, even though I go there 3 times a month. And when we were on the edge of the property, that security guard maced me. He would not call the cops. I went to Quickstar and called the cops. Officer Freen took me to jail and would not investigate what that security guard did to me. And then the last thing is now just in the last 2 days, because I told Freen I was going to have him, I personally said to him, I'm going to file this affidavit myself and have it notarized, and you're going to have to go to court. And all the places I go to around here, I can't go in anymore. They all said I'm banned. I didn't do anything to anyone. And it does upset me, but I've been through so much in the last 7 years that ain't going to break me now. And the last thing I would like to say is the superintendent of a building is not allowed to tell their tenants that a person cannot be in the building. I just dealt with this a couple days ago, and I dealt with it a couple years ago at Green Hill Point Apartments. If I didn't do anything in their building to be trespassed, just because the superintendent doesn't like me in that building doesn't mean I can't go there. That's called the tenant's right to enjoyment and privacy. And today, Freen showed up over here at the president and told me I couldn't go in, even though Holstead, I believe is his name, he knew and he was familiar with it before. He knows that if the tenant wants me there, I can be there, but he just said if I go back there, I'm going to jail. So that's about it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Will I be able to contact you about this stuff?
Huh?
Is there anything going to change about the things I just complained about?
I mean, I'm not a police officer at this point. I can discuss it with the chief to see what's taking place, but I can't make a decision on criminal matters.
Well,
I
I've
mean,
been trying to
potential. So you had I respected you and
Yes.
had your time. I responded.
Yes, sir.
So if we could please conduct a meeting, but for
yes.
someone that says they're not a public speaker, you did a really good job expressing yourself. So thank you. Yeah. All right.
All right, motion to close public comments.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thanks for staying to the end of the video, guys. Just remember, whenever you see a police officer, to always take your camera out and hit the record button as soon as possible. This has been BCNN, Real News Only.